For this month's Every Second Matters is a video I've wanted to make for about 2 years now. Restraints. Here we have a standard pair of handcuffs. Now you see this funny looking knob right here? Well, that is one of these, and this is a training key. There's a magnet in it that will hold it on the handcuffs, and they are really hard to get out. They're really easy to put in. That converts this to a training handcuff so that whoever's wearing them has a key immediately available in case your partner decides to walk off and go to lunch and accidentally forget to take them off. Alright. Right here there's this tiny little hole. This is the double lock. The way it works, on the back of the handcuff key is a tiny little post. Push the post into there, and these cannot tighten up. They're set, they're stuck at this level. That's to prevent them from accidentally tightening on the restrained person during transport or whatever. Alright, we're going to start by demonstrating how these work. Because this is a demonstration video, we're doing some things a little bit differently, but we're doing the best we can here. Alright, so put the shackle against the wrist and just push. Put the second shackle against the wrist and just push. None of this swing it down harder than God shit. You should never ever do that. You will break their wrists. And then, as my partner has begun to demonstrate, set the double locks. Now they cannot be tightened up any further. There are 1,000,001 people who can pick these locks. There are 1,000,001 people who can contortionist their way out of it. These are not the most secure locks in the world, and they're not supposed to be. They're just a temporary restraint and transport of a person. Alright. Lock-picking lawyer has a great video about how fast he was able to pick a standard handcuff key, and this is the Peerless patent. This is the gold standard. You're going to see a whole bunch of this style today. Now, because these are training cuffs, obviously I can reach the key, which is exactly the point. If you live in New York, I recommend, and you like playing with handcuffs, I recommend you order a couple of these, because if you live in New York City and you lose your handcuff key, you will be charged with a misdemeanor. That has happened before. Actually, it was a felony. It started as a felony, but they took it down to a misdemeanor because the couple admitted that yes, everything was on the up and up. He was being charged with kidnapping, even though they were her handcuffs. Okay. The next one we're going to cover are these bad boys. These are leg shackles. They go around the ankle. The working mechanism inside is exactly the same as this. And these training keys would work here. It's double lock and everything else. This is to hobble somebody so they can't run away. Alright. It's not that exciting other than they're larger than standard, and this is much longer than those handcuff keys. Handcuff lock. This is a belly chain. Belly chains are used to restrain prisoners during transport. There's two major styles. This is the one I see the most. It is essentially just a pair of handcuffs in the middle of a long chain. There's another style where there's a long chain and then a cuff it about a third of the way from one end, another cuff a third of the way from the other end. This is the most common style and is used when you need to give your inmate a little bit of flexibility, like they're signing court documents or stuff like that. Other than that, these aren't terribly exciting, but I do want to show you something. Okay, so it's generally accepted that the chain would go around the body. Obviously, you would hook it in the back if the handcuffs are in the front and you're supposed to be signing. So why is it so long? Like, check this out. You could wrap 2 of me in this. And yes, actually that is a consideration, but little secret about belly chains. They weren't supposed to go around the belly. They were supposed to go up and around the back of the head. Alright, so why don't you ever see this? You will never see this in the real world. Why not? Well, it's because cops started out testing these on each other, and they said, first of all, this is too complicated. This takes too much time. It's not worth the trouble. And second of all, you can actually, if you're flexible enough, work your way out this way. Now, I am not flexible enough. I never have been. About 1 out of every 3 people are. Very simply, the very simple solution is obviously to just hook it like this. Obviously tighter than this, and keep a close eye on them, because if you put this on somebody, they're going somewhere, and you know why. The next one we're going to do is this. A rarely seen example. It's a long chain, although the ones I've seen in the real world were much shorter than this. And this ring here wasn't on those. It's actually usually a staple. Now, a staple is a bent piece of metal with 2 sets of threads at one end and a plate underneath. What you do is you put the staple through a thing like a desk or a bench or something, and then you bend the ends over. This is for permanently or semi-permanently securing somebody to a specific spot in the universe. I've only actually seen one of these in real life once at the Las Vegas jail. Very much as a niche item. You could see them. Also, the one I saw, I could tell that the double lock had not been set because the bail was completely closed to the point where you could see all of the you could see it was wide open. All right, so the guy's handcuffs went through here, and then they put this on him because he apparently started a fight in holding, and they were kind of done with him. Okay, so the next thing we're going to cover is this, or more to the point, not this. This is actually just an industrial wire tie, zip tie. And the idea is if you have somebody whose hands are too big, or if you have too many people, or a million other reasons why, you might put what are known as zip cuffs on them. Real zip cuffs have wire inside of them to prevent them from being easily torn, broken, burned, open, any of that sort of thing. These do not, so, and I'm not going to actually put this on anybody because it wastes a good wire tie, but you'll see these sometimes, and there are training versions. Now those are like $200 items. I don't have $200, so we're not doing that. They are highly effective. And last but not least is these bad boys, or rather this bad boy and these two, whatever. These are what are known as handcuff knots. Now this one is properly tied. We'll talk about these two in a moment. So, pull the two ends so that they can be tied together on top. Now my partner is just going to put a single on top. He is just going to put a single knot on to demonstrate the concept. Stop. And this will hold a lot of people most of the time. Most of the time, long enough to take them for, say, the Reeves or the sheriff or the jail or whatever. This was the zip tie or zip lock, zip cuff, and the general purpose handcuffs of the world until Fearless came up with their handcuff model. All right. Now this is tied a very specific way, and I want to show you first the two wrong ways. All right, good. This is the one I saw this and I just started spurting out. So the idea here is that you tie a knot in the roughly center of your line. It's marked here with this little black thing. And then you put a bite through on one side and another bite, and then the other bitter end through that bite, and then you tighten it up. And I mean, even here you can see you cannot put these on quickly. It's just impossible. All right, this is a joke. I don't know who thought that this was a good idea, but in order to tighten this up, you would have to pull this one, pull this bite, and then that bitter end, and then you can pull this bitter end. This is not fast or efficient. This is clumsy and stupid. I don't know who gave these instructions, but don't ever follow this. Oops. This one is essentially a big bow tie, bow knot, like you put on your shoes. The problem with this is if you pull on it, it completely collapses. Look at that. There is no knot here now, right? So if you start to put it on and your suspect pulls on one end or something else happens, you don't have a knot, you have a line. Right. So let's talk about the proper way to tie this knot. First step is to tie a basic overhand knot, single knot, in the roughly center of your line. Tighten it up just a little bit. You don't need it tight yet. Take your bitter end around the outside, like this. Take your other bitter end and take it around the other outside, like this. Like that. There you go. Okay. All right. So now you tighten up the knot in the center. I put figure 8 knots. Those are just overhand knots, whatever, on the end so that you can't pull it out the other way, right? It's stuck. You notice that these two lines or two ends rather, are parallel. That'll allow them to move smoothly. They're not crossing each other, which first of all creates friction that you don't want. And second of all, it's going to widen this knot area, which makes it much more difficult to put them on properly. You want them parallel and on the same side as the bite that they're connected to, right? Now, a very real fact of knots is very often the knot is called based on the use. If you've ever heard the expression tying the knot, you are literally looking at an example right now. This is also known as a wedding knot. The groom's left hand goes into one. The bride's wrist, rather. The bride's left wrist goes into the other. You pull them down and you just give it a basic overhand knot, just enough to symbolize that they have tied the knot. And that's literally the source of the expression, tying the knot. You might need some of this knowledge in the future for various reasons. All right, so I hope you pay attention. Please feel free to go back and replay this at half speed. Please feel free to download it and steal it if you can. And in the meantime, keep calm, mandatory carry on, and every second matters.